First off, I love Scott.
He's
Fantastic guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He comes out and supports my music a lot, and I appreciate it. And I think all artists should do that for each other. But it was what makes me make music. Mm-hmm. It's my life. Ever since I was a kid, everything I can remember, it was music, music, music. And after I got past that little Garth Brooks country phase, I discovered there was so much more out there. And just listening to it gave me this feeling like everything was okay and I wasn't alone. And then there'd be songs where I was mad. I could listen to some other guy that was mad. Being connected to other people, it's a wonderful feeling no matter who you are. Everybody hates to be alone. Even the ones that say they don't are bitter about it, like I was. And then they go listen to music about you hate being alone. And that's what I did. But as a kid, I would love it. I loved it and loved it and loved it. All the different music I would listen to. And I would get into, like, the first band I really discovered was Matchbox 20. And Rob Thomas is Captain Emotional, so I really connected to him. And all of a sudden I branched out into so much alternative rock. And as I got older, I started to see what that did for me was just, it saved me a lot. I listened to this band Blue October, and he's so directly honest with his songwriting that every time he plays, he's telling you about this just harsh, terrible things that happen to him, a lot of hell. But the music pulls him through it, and he gets connected with his crowd, and they get connected with him. And the more I checked that out, the more I wanted to give that to people. And I wanted to endear those same feelings to other people, that you're not alone. And at the time it was You're Not Alone Kid, and I want some other kid that was like me to be able to see it, hear that music. And not only that, it's a little selfish too, because when I do it, it's for me as well, and I still release all those same emotions now and get to share them with people. And there's nothing more comforting to me than that, and that's why I will keep chugging along and doing music. Yeah. Well, I know the man, so I'm going to make it an intriguing question and try to make it difficult. Well, let's see. You know what? Since I know the man personally and I know who it's going to be, how do you have so much charisma to make friends with everybody you meet and make everybody you meet want to listen to your music and work with you? Because he wants me to work with him, and I love the guy for it. He's always come out to my shows and everything. What makes you just so nice, man? That would be, you know what, if you're recording, I'll just show you.
Heck yeah. Growl.
It would be Gohan, the guy right there on the back. Yeah.
Awesome.
I love Gohan. As a kid, I grew up, and there's a lot of little coincidences that made me like him at first. Like, my last name's Rice. Gohan, translated in Japanese, is the word rice. And so, when I was about 14 or 15, I had some friends who were really into Dragon Ball Z. And all of a sudden, they all started calling me Gohan, and I didn't get it. Because they would just say, you eat like a Saiyan. I didn't know what that meant. But if you know the show, and if you don't, there's characters in it called Saiyans, and when they eat like plate upon plate, 30, 40, 60 at a time. And they called me Bottomless Pit before they called me Gohan. Because I still do it. I eat and eat and eat. And then Gohan meant rice, and they all used to think it was clever. And I thought they were making fun of me, but I didn't realize they were telling me that in a cool way until I really started looking at it. But the last little coincidence I liked was, if you know the character, when he's older, his hair grows out, stands straight up if he lets it grow out. It never lays down on the side. It can be 10, 20 inches tall. But this one big lock falls forward in front of his head. And if I ever let my hair grow more than 4 inches, it doesn't poof like an afro. It doesn't lay down. It stands straight up, and then one piece falls forward on my head.
Nice.
Yeah. And so,
meant to be.
Yeah. So they called me Gohan, and then I finally checked out the show, and then just, this guy's kicking ass. It's awesome. There's nothing cooler because they can't create it with live effects or anything. Right. You see these two dudes who just pure blood hatred hate each other for some reason or another. One guy's fighting for justice. One guy just wants to kill everybody. It's perfect, And but what got me really endeared to Gohan after that was just everybody called me that. And like through high school, I had tons of people who knew me as Gohan. They didn't even know my first name.
Wow.
And when I started watching the show, I really liked his character because I felt connected to it. He was a guy that didn't like to take crap, but he also didn't like to fight, which is a kind of a difficult combo to have. And I would do the same thing. Somebody would be in my face, and I'd be like, you know what, you need to back off before I slap you, but I would never slap him if I didn't have to.
Right.
And you start watching that show more and more, and you see his character develop from like a child's age up. And he had to live through tons of stuff. He sees his father die when he's a kid. He's left alone with his mom. If you know the show, his dad comes back and then his dad dies again. So he has to live with it twice. But all this death around him, and he manages to stay positive, and he manages to stay strong, and not just for himself, so he can protect other people. And since I was young, I've had this habit. I almost call it bad habit because it can get you in trouble. But I always put others in front of myself, and just so much can happen to you when you do that. You make sure everybody else avoids pain, and then you take it instead. And it really influenced me. And then watching that character grow and keep growing and growing and growing until he was an adult. And then he gets this fine-ass girlfriend, and I was envious of him. And it was like my life goal to find a girl like her. Yeah, until I found one, and then I did. Kicks your ass, and then hugs you afterwards. It's pretty awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, but that's just, he had so much strength inside of him that he didn't want to let go. All this hidden potential, but at these times when it needed to come out, it came out, and it felt like that was something that I could do and that I should do. Plus, I was Rice Gohan, and that's why I love the character and that show. His character, especially watching it, falling in love with it. The other thing I do besides music is I teach martial arts.
Okay.
And I sink into martial arts. I either have a guitar or I'm punching something. That's pretty much what I do. And that shows what drove me to do it. And it helped me find my passion. And in the martial arts made me confident enough to be brave enough to do music on stage. And it all got connected. And it literally came from Dragon Ball Z. Live album would be Blue October's live Foiled for the Last Time album.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that's been what I love, is that music right there, the way he tells the truth. But I've seen him live like 6 times, and every single time the song is different, because it's like whatever's going on in his life changes the song when he performs it, and he lets you know what's going on. And like there'll be times where he's singing about a girl, and like he'll start including the word fuck in front of her name if it was a happy day, or sweet thing or something like that in front of it. I mean, if it was a bad day, he'd cuss, and if it was a good day, he'd be nice and sweet. But in that album, the emotion from that album is just wonderful. Everything in it, all his songwriting's true, but in that album, he starts off and plays the album straight through like he would if you put it in a CD player, track 1 through track 11 or 12, and then each song is sick. It is insane. He's in front of this huge crowd. It's one of the biggest crowds I've ever played in Houston, and he's got you hear the fans getting involved, and they've got such a loyal cult following, and I love that when fans are that dedicated to a band. But like he'll just stop singing, and then everybody will sing the lyrics for him, and then he'll come in and scream with them, and then they'll all start screaming. And like one of my favorite lines that and he's in the middle of the song, he takes a break and he goes, "Tear the fucking roof down," and people just start screaming. But they're into the music that much. It's wonderful. And what I liked about it the most is I've heard live albums where they'll record one song in one venue and one song in one venue, and pick and choose which one was the best.
I hate those.
Yeah, I hate it. This is a straight playthrough. They record it all live, so they can't make mistakes, and if they do, it's in there, and it feels like real music to me.
Right.
Yeah, and it's so awesome. And then several songs on it that are extended where he sings lyrics you've never heard before, and he uses them to hook the crowd. Because you come back and there's a song you never heard, but somebody said, "Oh, I heard there's a secret verse if you go watch it live." It's a smart tack because people will come to your show. Plus, they love you so much, they want to see it. And I've heard him change the lyrics to the same song to endear what's going on in his life, and he does it in that song. And he's screaming these parts that are just amazing and uplifting. And it's another one of those albums that just all these people are there because they felt similar to me, and that's why they get attached to that band. They had that alone feeling or whatever was going on in their life, and then everybody comes together, and that's what music should be about. People getting together and just letting go. And that album just captures it. It's sick. Okay, this is a fun question for me because I've imagined this before, but like I wouldn't participate. I'd want to watch them play, and maybe get lucky enough to meet them backstage, even though it was me putting the festival on, and I'd be bashful. But my first number one choice would be my favorite band. They're called Murder by Death. I don't know if you've ever heard them, but they're sick. They're wonderful. They mix this. They call themselves dark whiskey devil music, because they have like this western sound, like old country western mixed with heavy rock, mixed with folk, mixed with alternative rock. It's hard to explain, but they vary. They're very sporadic in their songwriting, and just they write what they feel. But they have this ability, the guy's voice is like, not the same, but similar to Johnny Cash, to where he could sing low and talk it out. And I think personally, I've listened to Johnny Cash my whole life. The man actually has a better voice than Johnny did, but his songwriting's similar, and it's straight to the point, which is very important to me because songs can drag on if you're not careful. But that band is just wonderful. If you haven't seen them, check them out. They're pretty cool. I was seriously psyched today because the new album I pre-ordered came in the mail today. Like, I got it an hour before I came home.
Nice.
But that's what I'm doing tonight. I've been itching to go home and put it in the CD player. But they would be Murder by Death 1. 2 would be Blue October, just because they're one of my favorite bands. They're in the top 5. And then there's this, and you've heard all about them from me already. So then the third would be this Scottish band that's current right now. They're called We Were Promised Jetpacks. And I don't even remember exactly how I found them. I think I was like just perusing YouTube at like 4 in the morning, listening to different bands, and this one came up, and they had this song called Quiet Little Voices that was just insanely cool. They're an alt-rock band, and the guy sings with this, he can sing like a choir boy, but when he just goes and sings his stuff, he has this just raw kind of, not perfect singing voice, but it fits with the music so well, and they have this ability, it's hard to explain without listening to them, but they have these heavy guitar riffs that pick up and pick up and pick up and pick up, and then all the music feeds in. They use xylophones and like drums that are weird that they build, all kinds of stuff that's abstract, and it creates this cool sound. But if you listen to it, it's like you're on a wave that's picking you up, and all of a sudden it just crashes, and then all of a sudden all the rock and everything comes together and just blah, 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 and it's sick. And the only other way I can explain it is if you're inside the tube of the wave and you're watching all this music rise up, and then boom, it drops on top of you.
Wow.
And they're really cool, and they're worth checking out. They're a Scott band. There's several Scott bands that I really like. They have this kind of new kind of sound to them, and not all of them. Some if you don't find a good one, it's usually freaking weird. Yeah. And then let's see, number 4.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Manchester.
They're a cool band.
Yeah, they're really cool. I like a lot of those alt-rock bands like that, and they have this, I love the dude because he's this big old dude, big old beard, but he has this high-pitched voice that you wouldn't expect to come out of him, and his songwriting is unbelievable. It's so good. And for me, it's all about lyrics. People who write really good lyrics, I tend to like their music. If you don't, I don't care how good everything else sounds. I'm usually like, yeah, sorry, you gotta go.
Right,
But they either have to be fun lyrics or really good lyrics for me. But they're another band worth checking out. And number 5, I'm gonna have to bring one back from the dead, and for me, it's Johnny Cash. I never got to see him live, and I grew up listening to him. He's the one person that I kept around, and people always talk about him in country music. I really think he was one of the first people to bring more rock and roll sound into anything, because he's got his contemporary songs that everybody heard on the radio at the time, like what's Ring of Fire, and but it's all upbeat and happy-go-lucky kind of stuff. But if you listen to his music, that's darker, and most of it is almost, he's 10, 20 songs that everybody's like Johnny Cash, but he's got all this music that has these dark, awesome guitar riffs, like Rusty Cage. Have you heard that song before? It's sick, and just boom, 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 and it's really dark and deep, rocked out Western rock from back then. That it's actually definitely been one of the kinds of styles of music genres that inspired mine. Singer-songwriter, likes to sing about dark stuff, and so I get connected to it. And Johnny was just amazing. There's so much good music, and like Ain't No Grave, he could write the spiritual songs really well. Ain't No Grave Can Hold My Body Down. It's awesome. And then like one of the ones that surprised me with Johnny though was I'd want to see it. It would be like my closing song for him at this festival. I'd have him close. Everybody else can just bow down to Johnny. Fine with me. But would be his song Hurt that he did right before he died.
Oh yeah, 9 Inch Nails.
Yeah, and it was a 9 Inch Nails cover, and I never knew that, and I would listen to it, but like for me, I really wish I was that band, because how much better can you feel than Johnny Cash just covered your song? I mean,
it's one step above Weird Al.
Right? Yeah, and he covers that song, and you're like, oh my God, it's just got to be this great feeling. But I'd like to be at that festival. This has literally been my thought, with them sitting next to me and watching their reaction.
Yeah.
Because it would be just like, it's hard to explain. Like, that feeling must have been wonderful. I mean, who gives you the phone call where you're like, Johnny Cash, the Johnny Cash is going to sing your song?
Right.
What? It's great.
It is pretty crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's all, but that would be my festival, yeah.
Nice.
I'm James Rice from In Much of Madness, and you just checked out the Wu Man Chu Chronicles. Make sure to hit him again.